There's Saracen.
Hey Internet, I'm Chaz.
I'm Dan. Welcome to Wine is Serious Business, episode 185. We're here today with our friend Kerrie, who hasn't been on the show before, but has done a lot to help out Wine is Serious Business over the years. She's made the blind bags we've got. She's taken us to a couple different winemaker interviews, and probably the biggest amount of work, she put all of the back episodes at one point from YouTube onto the website. So a big thanks.
Tremendous thanks.
Yeah, and really happy to finally have you on the show. So make sure to give her some thanks in the comments too. And we're here today to taste some wines from Caduceus, and this is probably, and the previous one is probably one of our most viewed shows ever.
Which is, strange, but yeah, it totally makes sense.
And another one of our longtime viewers, John Moser, was a fan of these guys, and was like, when are you going to do another show? And you eventually kind of like broke me down. I'm like, you're right, we gotta, because I'm curious. I want to see what this is like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we're starting out with the 2010 Bonita Rose. I've had these for maybe 4 or 5 months now. I got online, and it took us a while to get, to get Kerrie together and have all the wines ready for a show. We're starting out with the 2010 Bonita Rose. I don't know, I just checked online, they don't have a current release rosé, so I don't know how far behind they are. I feel a little weird that it might be a little old, but we'll find out.
It's a little dark, which is, I mean, it's almost orange, like, not pink anymore. That smells kind of good.
I feel like earthy, leathery kind of on the nose.
Yeah, it's almost like sort of got like a Pinot funkiness to it a little bit, right? Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, really earthy. Boy, in a dark glass, I never would have guessed this is rosé. But
there is some bright, like some bordering on strawberry, raspberry flavors.
Yeah.
It's not so much dark cherries or anything, but it's paired with this like really earthy flavor, which is really strange. Not bad.
Yeah, strawberries, raspberries, kind of come through.
Right, unexpected. I always think of rosé as something you drink when you're sitting on the porch, and it's 80 degrees out, and I don't know that this is the first thing I would reach for in that,
it's a little powerful.
that circumstance, because it's pretty robust for a rosé.
Totally. It's got almost some weight to it, like a mid palate, despite being cold. I can't imagine what this tastes like warm, right?
Yeah, definitely not a warm wine.
I think the distinction. You mentioned in a dark glass you wouldn't see it. I think the distinction as it warms up would become harder and harder to pick it out.
You might lose balance with the acidity, because there is a fair amount of acidity, and the way that the flavors are, ways that they're so intense. Yeah, it might sort of change strange. And man, if you couldn't tell the color of this wine, what would you think it was? What color would you think the wine was?
I think it was a red.
You think it was a red? Yeah, exactly.
I'd probably get like lighter Sangiovese or like Mourvedre or some other kind of earthy variety like that, because those earthy characters still come in on the flavor too. The fruit stays really light. It lingers long. Like I'm getting kind of these tart strawberry notes really late, but they're not very strong. They're like really, really delicate.
Yeah. There's something citric going on in the finish as well. Sort of reminding me of like ruby red grapefruit.
I was going to say grapefruit.
Yeah, exactly. Like really, really almost bitter in the finish. Like.
But not unpleasant.
Not unpleasant. Yeah, absolutely not. Like sort of juicy, but strange wine.
Yeah.
Not totally unstandard for what you expect for rosé. But I mean, looking at the color, you're like, what am I getting into here, right? So,
some decent things going on, like some good flavors. I'm going to go with that. We got to this too late. I think 2 years ago the fruit was probably up a few more notches, and I would have enjoyed that more. Than the earthy character would have been kind of like a supporting role as opposed to kind of like having them even. So 84 right now. If you got any, drink them up.
Totally agree.
Still enjoyable, but yeah.
83, 84 points for me as well. It's just not entirely in balance, where you'd want to drink it, and I think I would agree with Dan that it probably did need to be consumed last year. But yeah, so if you got some, pound it.
Still totally drinkable. So seize that moment. Next up, also from 2010, we've got the Kitsune. I'm going to guess that's how to pronounce that. But this is 100% Sangiovese. No, that's good. That's good.
Spilled all over the table too. Good at spilling.
Now it's a party.
Yeah.
get the rinse done there. So all of this, I believe, is grown in Arizona. These two
Paint the glass.
have county designates. Oh, these two have county designates. So the Rose is from Graham County, and the Kitsune here is from Cochise County. I don't know anything about the geography of Arizona, but if you're watching it from down there, that probably means something to you. And also, for those of you who don't know a lot about wine labeling, I don't know the rules in Arizona, but typically to name the county on it, a high percentage of the wine has to come specifically from that county, so it's more specific than calling it an Arizona red wine.
Yeah, and I would say that these counties are in north, like with Jerome and Camp Verde, that's like northeast Arizona.
Have you watched the documentary that is it called Blood into Wine?
Yep.
Right? Yeah, like he was planting stuff in Jerome, and that's why I was wondering. But obviously they had stuff planted by like Flagstaff,
right.
and
which is also north.
Sweet documentary at all. If the idea of that sort of documentary interests you at all, you should totally watch it. Right? Like I really enjoyed watching it.
Nice behind the scenes with pros and cons.
Yeah, totally.
The frustrations are certainly explained as well.
Totally. So this is 100% Sangiovese from Arizona. I've never tried one of those before, so yeah. Kind of good stuff going on the nose here right away, like lots of really dark fruits, kind of like blackberries, a little bit of hot asphalt going on, but not overwhelming.
I'm picking up like the more like cranberry aromas, maybe like even like some pomegranate, but I totally agree with the blackberries. You know, like handful of blackberries. It smells like getting a little bit of vanilla from oak too. The oak is definitely out front with the other flavors in those. Well, it's certainly delicious.
If nothing else, that's lovely.
Yeah.
I really like the finish on it. It's almost effervescent.
Yeah, it sticks around a long time.
Yeah, blackberries really come through. I think the oak's definitely there as well, giving a little bit of that little vanilla, a little richness on the end.
Right.
I agree with the sort of like black top sort of asphalt thing you were talking about too. There's some like what you could classify as like stoniness or like minerality to the finish, which is nice. And the tannins are well balanced with the rest of the wine, right? Like and I think help extend the finish on. Like the acidity is, I don't know, it's good, but the tannins are just right in line with the fruit so well in this. It's delicious. So
tannins are a little on the full side for me, actually. They kind of like pucker up and kind of in combination with the acidity. I really like the acidity's kind of got like some lime character to it early on. Yeah. But in combination with the tannins, it's a little more structure heavy, I guess, towards the finish, and the fruit fades off a little bit for me. But I still really enjoy the flavors, and I think things are working well together.
I don't mind the structure hit on the finish. I mean, I think it's a little strong, yeah, but it's not overwhelming to the fruit, right? There's a lot of like substance to the flavor that's left over, and that's what's nice, you know.
It's assertive but not arrogant.
Excellent.
There you go.
Right? Yeah, it's not showy, but it's certainly there. The structure's certainly there.
I would agree. And I was initially a little worried for the oak on the nose, but it doesn't come through strong on the finish terribly, right? Like it's definitely there. It's definitely playing a point to add a little bit of richness to the fruit flavors, add just a little bit, another element, but not overwhelming at all. So really nice.
Yeah. Anything particularly striking about it, or now that you got wine in your mouth? It's a good time to ask.
Yeah, good time to ask. I'm gonna go 90 points on it. I like it.
Solid.
I like it quite a bit, and I think a little more time bottle, like Dan said, some people might find this a little structure heavy now. I think it's drinking fine now.
And these are pretty much pop and pours too, for what that's worth. So
I think you pair this with some food and it'd be just ripping, killer. You know, but because it doesn't. I mean, how much alcohol does it have? It's not even coming off strong. 14.1 is that list on the bottle.
Sure.
Not overwhelming the palate at all.
No
heat whatsoever. So yeah, drink now with food, or give it another year or two, and this will probably be a wonderful wine. So 90 plus to me.
So the structure for me does get to be a little strong, kind of towards the back end. It kind of eclipses the fruit. The fruit's still good, and I think the structural elements kind of work together, and as they transition more towards earthy flavors, I can see it working really well. So for me, this is something that I would just definitely want to age at least 6 months, maybe a couple years before I got into it again. But I feel like it would handle that really well, because I think a little more of those earthy characters, the tannins would just back up just a little bit. I think I'd be a lot more excited about it. So 88 points, good flavors for now, but let it sit for a while.
Even despite the lower acidity that it's got, you know, like.
Well, the acidity.
The tannins are more out in front.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, it's still enjoyable right now, but I don't know. Like, yeah, gets a little too much, like,
understandable
dried brambles on the back end for me. So
all right, so our third one.
Moving on to wine number 3 here. This is the Nagual de Naga, and this isn't the specific county. It's a blend of a bunch of different red grapes.
Paint and glass.
Still designated as Arizona fruit, Cabernet-based blend, but 46% of it is Cabernet. So there's a lot of, you know, it's a deep blend, right? There are a lot of different varieties in there. The other ones are Merlot, Sangiovese, and Tempranillo.
And as you can probably tell, there was a pretty obvious cut because everything changed all of a sudden. Working with some new equipment. All right.
A lot more aromatic, and this smells like, you know, this is made to be a big red wine. Yep. It smells like
it smells like a big red wine for sure. Really nice flavors though. I mean, lots of like the dark fruit, sort of Cabernet fruit things that stick out. Getting like some licorice on there, a touch of like something herbal, like sort of rosemary to me shows up. So yeah, nice.
And I think of dark chocolate. A little bit. Maybe one of my favorite things from Trader Joe's is like dark chocolate covered pomegranates.
Oh, that's a thing?
Yeah, Whoa. Thing, and dark chocolate covered cranberries, and so that combination is what this reminds me of.
That's like big red wine in candy form, pretty much, right?
Which that cannot be bad.
Yeah, that's kind of impressive. I need to check that out. It's good. Yeah.
I think they even say that it's good for you because of all of the antioxidants in the berries and the dark chocolate.
Right.
I think they sell it as a health remedy.
Wow. So you can eat as much of it as you want, right?
Right?
That's how that works. Good deal.
Exactly.
Just get a backpack full of it.
It's awesome. Man. Just a little bit of airtime and this thing has gotten bigger.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking is it was almost beneficial to have the cut because it's changed so much and in not that much time. But just sitting out has
yeah. So now that we're out, we lost the last bottle, so we're having to do it again. Is what happened, and we were talking about how they were popping pores the first time through.
Yeah. This time not so much. About an hour.
A little more time for it to warm up and for us to warm up, and so it's definitely benefiting from that.
Structurally, like all the way across the board, the intensity is dialed up for me. Like ratcheted up another notch. And for me, the acidity was already kind of a little high, and now we're bordering on too much for me.
Seriously?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
So
I'm really liking it. So in contrast, one of the things that I like right away is that the acidity comes in right with the dark fruit. There's this really nice, you know, to me like green apple thing going on, which keeps the fruit kind of like crisp and bright, even though the flavors are dark. It keeps it from being too heavy and kind of keeps a sense of purity running down the center of the palate that I really enjoy.
You mentioned lime last time too, which was a really interesting thing to say, but this next taste, and I'm still getting it. Like that, the green apple-y thing, I would more border on towards like lime juice or like limes with a little bit of the pit. Like it's very, very interesting how that plays along. But the acidity for me is just slightly overwhelming the flavors. That's just personal preference.
Yeah, totally.
But structurally, pretty well balanced. And whereas I talked about the Kitsune being something I could enjoy right now, this is a wine I would age a little longer. I would, at least a year. Give it some time in the glass or in the bottle before you, or I would open the next one.
How's it treating you?
I actually really like the acidity. I think that's one of the reasons why I have shied away from big reds often, is that it's just too heavy. There isn't that brightness in it. And so for me, it works really well to have that acidity in it.
Yeah.
But only because I tend not to go right after those really huge reds that you see, the cabs and so forth.
Well, I found the more I've been drinking wine with other people, the more I'm finding is my palate's a little more sensitive to acidity than other people's.
Sure.
Totally.
It's just some people will struggle with high alcohol, like overwhelms, and that has happened for me, or that happens to me. Acidity does that to me as well. It overwhelms the flavors. I can't even decipher what's going on because it's like this big acidity. This isn't doing that so much. I'm just saying that it's high. It's in that spectrum of being on the high range for me.
Yeah, and it's to the point where it's working well for me.
Right.
The tannins toward the back end kind of remind me of this wine, where they're definitely pretty full, and I'm suspicious that the Tempranillo is contributing some of that too. Some of that really back end kind of dusty, acidic mouthfeel. Cabernet will give a little bit of that, but I think the Cabernet fruit sits really well in the center of the palate, and I think the the way everything's blended together gives a really great sensation and flavor of pure fruit in the center of the palate, while the structures work along the sides. A little bit of bitterness there too, which connects really well with what you were saying about the chocolate, because it's dragging my mind in that direction as I talk about it even. But I'm also leaning towards aging it, right? Like I could drink it now, right? Or you could decant it and kind of get to know it. But I think it'll really reward, sitting in your cellar for a little bit longer if you've got a bottle of this. So 90 points for me. I think, like I said, a little tannic, a little rough, but the deliciousness and kind of the interesting character of the fruit is kind of bringing it up to that threshold for me.
For me, I struggle with this because on the pop and pour, I actually like this wine more. Maybe it was a little tighter, a little more muted, but as it's taking on more air, the intensity levels are picking up so much that it just doesn't feel as imbalanced as it did before for me. And I went 90 plus on it when we just initially opened it and went through it. I would go 89 points on it now with a total, age it. I wouldn't even, if I had bought, say, 3 bottles or something of this, I wouldn't touch the next one for 3 years.
Sure.
Just totally forget about it because it's at least for my palate, a little overwhelming currently. But a delicious and complex wine. We commented on this on the pop and pour, and I'm going to say it again. You can come back to this wine and sort of smell something different and taste something different every time you go back to it, which is really a remarkable thing when you find it in a wine, and this is doing that. So fantastic, but 89 points for me now currently. So
final thoughts from you?
I think you got them.
all right. Yeah. And just wrap up, just to get you talk a little bit more. What kind of wines do you like to drink?
My tastes usually lean toward white, particularly a dry Riesling. And it doesn't matter where, which was something we had talked about.
Yeah.
Because I find stylistically dry means different things to different people, and so I'm less concerned with where it comes from. But just a really fruit forward, a little bit on the acidic side, and not too sweet.
Nice, yeah. More Riesling fans. The world needs them. That's great. And also you get a question of the day that you get to ask the audience.
Right. So my question of the day is, how many of you answer the question of the day? How many of you, think about the variety of questions, particularly because they're not all about wine, and answer the question of the day? I'd love to know.
Yeah. So here's a chance for all of you who have participated. There were a lot more this past week. You guys love to talk about cameras, I guess.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna have another conversation about cameras.
Yeah. So show up in the comments. Tell Kerrie thanks for putting all of those back episodes onto our website.
Thanks, Kerrie.
So you can search them, that they show up in the word cloud. It makes all that content much more available to people who want to see it. So thanks from us to you, and see you back at some point in the future.
Excellent.
I'm sure.
Sounds
and we'll
great.
see you guys next week.